Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Sabrina from the blog Held Fast Home, where I share housecraft, food from scratch recipes, and slow living on less than a quarter acre. Today, my children and I are foraging right from our backyard, which we lovingly call our meadow, since it's furnished primarily with edible weeds. Our task for this week is crafting homemade jellies from two of these beneficial native plants, dandelions and wild violets. We love to add jams and jellies to our breakfast sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly roll-ups, and freshly baked sourdough bread. If you don't have the time for preparing your own jellies, the farmer's market is a great resource for local homemade jams and jellies. That was where we were first introduced to dandelion and wild violet jelly last year. But when our little backyard meadow popped up this spring, I knew I had to try making these at home. This was my first time making jelly and using Sure-Gel, and the recipes were easy to follow and understand. They'll be linked in the description box. We are beginning our harvesting with wild violets. I don't know if I'm just reacting to the gray monotony of winter, but the color of these violets are stunning. I hadn't looked too closely at these flowers before, but after spending time foraging and plucking petals, I loved their simple, vibrant beauty. We harvested about 2.5 cups of wild violet petals in small batches over the course of a few days. We steeped the petals on the day we harvested them, and once we strained the petals from the water, I stored the infusion in the refrigerator until we had enough liquid for the recipe amount. Once the petals are separated from the green part of the flower heads, add equal parts of boiling water and petals, or 1.5 times more water, into a jar to infuse overnight or up to 24 hours. Once you've strained the petals and have enough of your infusion, you'll have this beautiful blue-purple liquid. Adding the lemon juice will change this color to a pinky purple. To a pot on the stove, add your infusion with the lemon juice and an entire package of the original Sure-Gel. Once your mixture is boiling, add the required amount of sugar, stirring until dissolved and allow to boil for another minute or two. Then pour the hot mixture into your chosen vessels. My recipes didn't instruct me to strain off the mixture into the jars, but I thought it might help take out the foaminess on top. And while this didn't quite work with the wild violet jelly, it did work with the dandelion jelly. Cap the jars and leave them on the counter to cool and set, then move them to the fridge. I love the vibrant color of this jelly, and the flavor of this one is my husband's and my oldest's favorite of the two jellies that we made. Continuing on to our dandelion jelly. The dandelion is an incredible plant where every part of it is edible and beneficial to the body. However, many of its uses are bitter, helping aid in digestion. But bitter jelly? Ew. However, the petals making up the flower heads can be made into a sweet honey-like jelly. Once you've collected your dandelions, you have to go through the monotonous process of plucking the petals from the flower heads. This takes much longer than the separating process for the wild violets, but put on a podcast or a sermon and it's a very soothing experience. The technique my recipe advised was splitting each dandelion head in half and then removing the petals from each section. This was my favorite method to use, and the whole process took about 2 hours total, but I just used small chunks of time throughout my day. Everything in the rest of this process should be familiar since we've done the wild violets. Pour the petals and boiling water into a jar to infuse overnight or up to 24 hours. Strain off the petals using a spoon to press all that extra water out of the petals for max flavor. Add in lemon juice and a package of Sure-Gel, bring to a boil, then dissolve in sugar and allow the mixture to boil for another 2 minutes. Decant the hot mixture into your chosen vessels and leave on the counter to cool and set before moving into the refrigerator. I didn't realize with the dandelion jelly that I had purchased the Sure-Gel for a low sugar recipe. But the recipe I followed used quite a bit of sugar, and I think this little mix-up led to a very thick jelly even before it cooled and set. You'll see what I'm talking about as I decant this into my containers. I think next time I might purposefully try a recipe for the Sure-Gel that requires less sugar. I'm also curious if you could just use beef gelatin to thicken the jelly, so if any of you have insight on why that would or wouldn't work, please share. I have to say I prefer the more mild flavor of the dandelion jelly, but I think the wild violet jelly is yummy too. Would I go through this entire process again, especially with the amount of time it took to pluck the dandelion petals? I do think it was worth it. I would love to look into more recipes that wouldn't rely on items I purchased from the store to make the jelly, so we'll see where that leads me next time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.